Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is John Paul Jones. I'm the Dean of the College of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and it's a delight to welcome all of you here tonight for the fifth and concluding conversation on privacy, this one dealing with government surveillance. Before I introduce our conversational host tonight, I'd like to thank a few people for their support over the past 5 weeks. I'll start with Don Bennett Moon and his foundation, the Lacey and Larkin Frontera Fund, the Arizona Daily Star, UA Online, and Tucson Medical Center. And also included among our sponsors is the DC-based Center for Democracy and Technology, the University of Arizona-based Center for Digital Society and Data Studies, the Eller College of Management, the James E. Rogers College of Law. I'd also like to thank the Fox Theater, Downtown Kitchen and Cocktails, Roscob, Camborian Financial Advisors, and Hoalua Companies. Thank you very much, Mike Kasser. And viewers like you, and Magellan Circle members like you. As you know, last March we had quite an event at Centennial Hall where we were able to stream in Edward Snowden, and Glenn Greenwald and Noam Chomsky appeared in person. And also, I should mention Nuala O'Connor from the Center for Democracy and Technology. It's quite an event, and the YouTube video that was produced that night has been viewed over 300,000 times and used in classes and you know, globally has been quite an important event for the college. We knew at that time that we hadn't fully exhausted the issues surrounding government surveillance, and in fact, that was a relatively one-sided discussion. And I think that this entire series has provided a wider spectrum of views on the question of government surveillance and government surveillance's relation to our privacy, to our free speech, and also to our security. So I'm looking forward to tonight's conversation. And that will be led by Brent Milward, who is a good friend of mine. Brent is the Providence Service Corporation Chair in Public Management at the University of Arizona. He's also the director of the School of Government and Public Policy. He was the founding director of the National Institute for Civil Discourse, which is very much in the news today because of the tenor of the elections over the last year and a half or so. Brent is an organizational theorist, and he's a very significant one. He has been the president of a couple of national disciplinary organizations. He's won many awards for his work, not just for individual pieces, but also for lifetime achievement in the study of organizations. He is a person that looks at organizations, and in particular looks at the networks that organizations form with other organizations and the collaborations that they form, and he asks questions about their efficiency and effectiveness and their resilience in the wake of different kinds of shocks. And he's done that work, most importantly, I think, or most significantly in the early part of his career, in studying health organizations, and in particular, trying to understand how civil society and government and the private sector can work together in the wake of what he termed the hollowing out of the state, that is, the withdrawal of the state from its traditional role in social service provision following in the wake of fiscal crises that began to emerge in the 1980s and the 1990s. And in the post 9/11 period, Brent turned his attention to what are known as dark networks, and for him, most importantly, networks around human trafficking and prostitution, terrorism, and drug smuggling. These are networks. They leave. They connect organizations. They leave behind traces of data, and we wouldn't be surprised, and in fact, we might be grateful that governments collect information on those organizations. And the question for tonight is, how do you draw the line between a dark network and other networks, and where does the individual fit in all of that? So it's a delight for me to introduce my friend and colleague, Dr. Brent Milward.
I'm delighted you're here tonight. This is really, I think, this is the finale of our series on privacy. And one of the things that we're going to be looking at is surveillance. When we started out planning this series, one of the things that we thought we were going to do would be talking about individual rights, the United States government's need for surveillance to keep us safe in terms of national security. What we found, we've been through an election where surveillance has a very different meaning. And we have state actors like Russia, we have WikiLeaks playing a role in our national election. So it's really a richer landscape now, and we're incredibly lucky tonight to have two wonderful experts here. I'm going to introduce them one at a time. But the first is Aaron Brantley. And I've known Aaron for about a year and a half when I was invited to the U.S. Military Academy at West Point to give a talk. And Aaron is at the Army Cyber Institute. He is also appointed at the Combating Terrorism Center at West Point, and he's an assistant professor in the Department of Social Sciences at West Point as well. For an assistant professor, this is a person who is at the cutting edge of what the cyber world means. And we're very lucky to have him tonight. He's worked on both sides. He's working with the Army right now as a civilian, but he has also in the past worked on democracy promotion. He was a Peace Corps volunteer in the Ukraine, spent 27 months there, and then he worked for two democracy promotion organizations funded by the United States, the International Republican Institute for Advancing Democracy Worldwide, and the National Democratic Institute for International Affairs that trains civil society activists all over the world. He has technical expertise in multiple coding languages and systems, and his regional expertise includes Eurasia, Eastern Europe, the Middle East, and parts of Latin America and the Caribbean. And he's just published 1 week ago a major new book called The Decision to Attack: Military and Intelligence Cyber Decision Making. Aaron, would you join us?
Great, thank you. Thank you very much.
Our third conversationalist, I'll count myself, is Jennifer Earle. Jennifer Earle, this isn't on her biography, but I'm just going to tell you this. She got her PhD here from the University of Arizona.